Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Anti-News Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Grosso, and thank you for tuning in. Today's date is October 4th, and as always, I've got 5 happy stories for you. First up, an endangered species of goat helps control wildfires. A man donates and delivers RVs to people who have lost their homes. And firefighters protect historic trees with foil blankets. After the music break, a turtle gets a ride home after 3 years, and the rhino population is on the rise. A little bonus good news. My wireless headphones have finally come in, so the sound quality of the episode should be better now. Thank you for being patient while I was without them. And now, on to the stories. The saying, 2 birds with 1 stone, refers to taking care of 2 things with 1 solution. For example, by asking a friend for help with your homework, you get to spend time with that friend, and you also get your work done. Ireland has the most greenland out of any European country, with 2/3 of the country being covered in vegetation. However, this makes it easier for grass fires to spread since there's so much fuel. The old Irish goat is a critically endangered species that is native to Ireland and was used for both milk and meat. Unfortunately, they're extinct domestically, but a small group still exists in the wild and primarily eat grass and other vegetation. Wildfires and hungry goats are the 2 birds, so all that's needed is a stone. The Old Irish Goat Society has dedicated themselves to keeping the goat species of the same name free from domestic goat genetics, as well as to the preservation of the species as a whole. The Old Irish Goat, as the name would suggest, is an old species of goat that's naturally adapted to the rocky and grassy terrain of Ireland and have been there for over a century. After the peninsula on Howth's Head caught fire last year, the city knew that it had to do something to help prevent it from happening again by tackling the overgrown weeds, and the Old Irish Goat Society happily agreed to help. 25 goats will be brought to Howth's Head to act as new firefighters, munching and eating as many of the weeds as their bellies can handle. The goat team is made up of 14 females, called nannies, and 11 kids, and adult males will be added until the herd reaches 100 goats so that they can better deal with the increasing strength of the wildfires in the area. The Old Irish Goat Society's chair, Padraig Brown, told The Guardian, "Our goats come from the mountains and eat whatever's there. Scrub, heather, gorse. They're the most suited for this task. We are giving our beautiful little creatures a job to do, which they're doing. They're not just a tourist attraction. They can earn their keep." To quote another saying, define the problem properly, and the solution will present itself. Basically, if you know what's wrong, sometimes the answer will be just as obvious. By having the goats eat the overgrowth, the city gets to lower the risk of fires, and the goats get a free lunch. This just goes to show that nature can be helpful by giving inspiration, or even just by providing the answer itself. Last year, the governor of California announced a state of emergency over the wildfires that had been spreading across the country. By the end of the year, 9,917 fires had burned 4,397,809 acres of land, giving 2020 the title of the largest wildfire season in California's modern history. The 2021 wildfire season already burned more than 3 times the land by July as compared to July of 2020, and climate change is only making them worse. This has left thousands of families homeless after the fires burned down their homes. There is emergency housing available, but the wait for it could leave people stranded for months. thankfully, there's other housing on the way, in the form of hundreds of RVs. The non-profit Emergency RV was created by Woody Faircloth, who got the idea for it in 2018 after hearing about a man who escaped California's campfire in a mobile home. Inspired by the act, and the man's gratitude just to have somewhere to spend the holidays, Faircloth asked his daughter Luna what she thought about them going to deliver RVs to those in need. Faircloth told Denver 7 at the time, "We were watching some of what's going on out there and talking about what if that was us and what we would do. And I told my daughter what the idea was, and she was 100% on board." He then launched a GoFundMe campaign to finance the first RV that he and Luna delivered, and from there, word spread. People reached out to him to see if they could donate their motorhomes, and from there, Emergency RV was born. To date, Faircloth, with his 9-year-old daughter along for the ride, have delivered 95 motorhomes to California area wildfire victims. And over the last 2 months, Faircloth and Luna have made the 40-hour round trip from Denver to California and back on 3 separate weekends. Faircloth says that he plans to expand Emergency RV to include other natural disaster sites, and hopes to improve response time as well. Even though he had nothing to gain from doing so, Faircloth went out of his way to help those in need. The fires left many in an unfortunate situation, with their possessions burned and their homes destroyed, but having a place to stay, whether temporary or permanent, helps to soften the blow. It's important that we all try to do what we can to help each other out, no matter where we are or what's happening. We might not all be able to donate an RV, but we are all able to care. Forest fires are one of the biggest threats to the world's forests. In 2020 alone, there was a total of 58,950 wildfires, which burned down about 10 million acres. The damage isn't limited to just the destruction of trees, but also to the loss of habitat for wild animals and the loss of historical growths. For example, General Sherman is almost 84 meters tall and has a circumference of 31.3 meters at the base. It's between 2,300 and 2,700 years old, and on September 9th, it was almost lost to a forest fire, but quick thinking on the part of firefighters have kept it safe. On September 9th, a lightning strike started a forest fire which burned 25,000 acres in Piron Sequoia Grove and the Red Hill Grove, before it started making its way towards Sequoia National Park. Before it could reach it, firefighters wrapped many of the trees, including General Sherman, in fire-resistant foil capable of withstanding 649 degrees Celsius. For reference, titanium can withstand up to 600 degrees Celsius, meaning that this level of heat would have started to melt it. Chief Firefighter John Wallace said during a Sunday morning briefing, "The fortunate thing is the Park Service has done a lot of prescribed burning in the park since the 1960s, and so it's making their job a lot easier. There's also a myriad of walking trails in there, which have given firefighters places to work off of. The structures in the giant forest, the museum, all the infrastructure around the General Sherman tree, that's all got sprinklers on it. And firefighters are running those sprinklers pretty much non-stop to make sure everything stays wet. But right now, all the protection efforts in the giant forest are going really well. While the giant conifer trees can withstand forest fires well, and actually use the heat as a sign to release their seeds, between California's constant drought and the prediction that climate change will make these types of fires worse, they decided not to take any chances. Nature is beautiful, but also dangerous. It's important to be prepared for natural disasters, and one way you can help prepare yourself is to research what events are common in your area. For example, if you live by the coast, it's more likely that you'll have to deal with flooding. It's also a good idea to watch what is happening in areas around you, and be ready if they start to affect you as well. If prevention is the best medicine, then preparedness is the next best thing. One thing that you don't have to prepare for is music. So let's go to the music break. That was Home by Vexento. Now on to the last two stories. The loggerhead sea turtle is listed as a vulnerable species, meaning that while it's not in danger of going extinct just yet, they do require some of our help to keep that from happening. The loggerhead can normally be found in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, as well as the Mediterranean Sea. Basically, they prefer warmer waters, which is why you'll never see them, say, swing around Ireland. Except, that's exactly what happened to one sea turtle, but thankfully, the little guy is finally making his way home. In January of 2019, Julius Caesar, or JC for short, was found on the coast of Ireland by a family who took him to Exploris Aquarium in Portaferry, County Down, where he's been living for the past 3 years. At the time, JC was 9 months old and weighed only a few hundred grams. And as for how he ended up in Ireland, it's believed that he got caught up by a current and was swept along the Gulf Stream, taking him away from his home. Exploris Aquarium was unable to send JC home after they got him due to the global situation, but they were finally able to partner with the airline Aer Lingus to do so. JC got to ride in the cabin where the crew would be able to make sure he was kept above 19 degrees and that his shell was well lubricated. To help keep him safe, JC had a specially made crate which was strapped across a number of seats. Captain Peter Lumsden, the Aer Lingus pilot flying JC, commented, "It is our pleasure to welcome aboard a very special passenger today and to ensure the safe transportation of JC the Turtle to Gran Canaria. Since they first got in contact, Aer Lingus has worked closely with the team from Exploris Aquarium and our maintenance and engineering and ground operations teams to ensure that all JC's needs are met as we complete this important mission." While JC may have just been one of his species, his survival could help there to be more loggerhead turtles down the line. Caring for an endangered species is never easy, and the fact that people are willing to spend the time and effort to take care of him for so long just goes to show how much they cared. In general, animals give us a lot, so it's only right that we give back to them, even if it's only helping one turtle find his way home. There are many traditional remedies from around the world, some of the best known coming from Asia. Acupuncture started in China sometime around 3,000 years ago, and there's evidence that at least in some cases, it can help improve a person's health. While many traditional practices and medicine are either limited in their effectiveness or work off of the placebo effect, some can have serious consequences. For example, rhino horns are believed in ancient Chinese medicine to be an aphrodisiac, which along with the ludicrous price of it on the black market, has led to rhinos becoming an endangered species. As of 2021, there are only an estimated 27,000 left in the wild. But thanks to new laws, a decrease in poaching, and dedicated individuals, that number is on the rise. According to the International Rhino Foundation, the IRF for short, the rate of poaching has plummeted while the populations of several rhino species has risen. The IRF releases a report each year called The State of the Rhino, which, as the title would suggest, tells the reader about how rhinos are doing. Despite the global situation, the IRF reports that there are still dedicated people working on protecting them, and the organization itself has donated $20 million worldwide over the last 10 years to rhino conservation efforts. The results have been well worth the effort, as over the last 8 years, incidents of poaching have fallen from 41 in 2013 to just 1 this year. The rhino population has also grown as well, some more so than others, such as the greater one-horned rhino, which is native to India. In the early 1900s, there was only about 100 of them left, but their numbers have skyrocketed to 3,700 at present, and the number is growing. Javan rhinos in Indonesia have had 4 calves, bringing the species to 75 and offsetting the natural death rate, more than doubling the 2011 amount. In Africa, the black rhino population has increased by 17% over the past decade and have been reintroduced to Zimbabwe after 30 years. Nina Fascione, executive director of IRF, has said, "We must act today to ensure these marvelous creatures can thrive for future generations. Let's continue to build on our successes of greater one-horned black and Javan rhinos, and reverse the declines for Sumatran and white rhinos, working together so rhinos can continue to thrive on Earth." This just goes to show that, with hard work, dedication, and time, what might have seemed like a lost cause can be given hope once again. Despite having been brought to such a small population because of humans, humans were also the ones who brought them back. We have a lot of power over our surroundings, and how we use that power is all up to us. We can use that power for good or for bad, but how we choose to use it can change everything. Here's today's advice. It's okay to not forgive someone, even if they said they're sorry, if you don't forgive them. We're taught to forgive and forget. And while that's good advice, it doesn't mean that you should forgive someone who's hurt you just because they've said they're sorry. Don't let anger and hate overtake you, but don't forget that your emotions and feelings are valid. A quick note before we end this episode, I'm going to be taking a short break, so the next episode won't be out until 4 weeks from now, instead of the usual 2. I'll be back afterwards, but I just have some stuff in my life that I need to take care of, and this will give me the time needed to do so. That's it for today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to support this podcast, you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Google and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spreaker. Links can be found in the description, and until next time, remember that there is still some good in the world, you just gotta look for it. Take care out there, everyone.